Okay guys, sorry this past couple episodes have been so slow. I've just had very low energy to program. But it's whatever, man. We're still programming. It's late, but I'm gonna try to get some done. I'm gonna add our, if we kill a bounder, that's 500 points. So I think we need to find where we cycle through our vultures. Check for ostrich to vulture collision right here. Okay. So we need to kind of think about this. We need to give our So we need to give, 500 points if we're a bounder, 750 points if we're a hunter. Right now we don't have those different classes. We just have the one vulture class. So we were thinking about adding another skin as a parameter, or like actually it needs different logic as well. Not only different rendering sprite, but different logic. Shit. Because that's now that's messing with how we're going to implement it here. Because if we want to do different things for different tiers, so we need to I don't know what to do. We need to modify our points by said vulture's tier points, or whatever you want to call it. So it's like, I think at least the very least we need is in our vulture class to give ourselves another field. And it's called self-tier. No. It's almost like what do we call it? It's like how many points it's worth to dismount. How many points it's worth to dismount, but it changes depending on a whole point worth. We just do self.point. Our self.points and our play state might get confusing because that's what we're ultimately adding our points to. So if we call it self point worth, what the fuck do we name that? Do we say self point tier? I don't know. Point tier, we initialize it at 500 as a bounder. And we need to do something else to that tests for what tier number our vultures are. But we're gonna initialize to 500 point tier, and then in our play state, when we're cycling through our vultures, in our ostrich update, when we're checking our enemy collisions, we have to do, it's almost like our self.score is how we were printing up score last episode, but that's in our play state. And I'm worried if we try to print it in, what the heck? Okay. So that's our self.score, which we're updating here unnecessarily just for funds. But we need to say See, I don't think we have access to that playstate dot score. But shit. Okay. I don't know how we modify our play state field when we're checking for collision in our ostrich. So either we need to move our score variable into our ostrich class or determine a different way of going about it. Because I don't think we can, you know, like here, if we turn off the printing of our score here, if we turn off the printing of our score so that now we're no longer printing our score, if we go into our ostrich class and try the same print function right here, except instead of self.score, we give ourselves playstate.score and see if it throws an error. Yeah, number expected. Bad argument 2. Yeah, this isn't getting a right value. You know. Because if we put a number actually in there, it'll print no problem. So we can't really modify our play states variable inside our ostrich class. So what do? We check for collision here. In our play state, we check our collision with, what the fuck am I writing here? None of this is helpful. We're trying to... Fuck, man. It comes down to implementation details. Like, how do we want to do it? We can give ourselves an integer field called score tier, and we populate that upon a player and vulture collision with the proper amount of points. But the thing is, we have to check through every vulture against our player, and we do that in our ostrich class, no problem. But then we're not... You know what, let's just give us, for now, let's just give us a self-score in our ostrich class. I don't think we have that, but our self-score will just be according to our ostrich, I guess, so that we can actually do it. We can modify it in our... Here, I'm going to take self-score out of our play state. But I do want how we print it, which is right here. I'm going to copy that. That's from our play state. We're moving it into our ostrich. So now we've got self.score here. And now we need to check when we're doing our enemy collisions. Anytime a vulture gets exploded, we need to set, we need to set our self score to be equal to our current score plus the vultures. Yeah, vultures speed tier. It's not called speed tier, it's called point tier. Self.point tier. Self.point tier. Anytime vultures exploded. So vultures exploded, then increment our points. Vultures exploded, increment our points. Vultures exploded, increment our points. Vultures exploded, increment our points. So now we still need to print our score in our ostrich. Oh no, I took it out. Does that mean I took it out here? No, it's right here. So if I take out this, so we're going to set the font to that yellow color, print out our self.score, which is now in our ostrich class. So now I'm thinking, well, we've got nil on the player life, but if I kill, okay, you know, cool beans. 500 points. We need to add points. You know, we're getting 500 points per one we kill. Our lives is still saying nil because we're actually printing, instead of doing our lives here, we need to continue to print our lives here. Oh, which we are. Okay, so that's working at least. So we've got, now we're getting 500 points for a bounder kill. We still don't have the hunter or shadow lord, but we need to add 500 points per bounder egg. No, first egg is 250, next is 500, next is 750. So how we have to do that, since we can't just say which egg gets it, especially since the eggs aren't instantiated upon a vulture being collided upon, we have to do something like yeah, we just have to do it where it's like the egg score. If it's the first egg of the wave, we say it's worth 250, and then if one egg has been popped, then the next egg's worth 500. And there's another bonus for gathering the eggs in the air, which is a whole nother freaking shenanigan. We did get the 500 points. Well, yeah. Hunter is 750 according to the game over here on the left. We still need temporary safety, but I guess I'm a little confused on how to do the eggs. Like, I think we need a wave. Fuck. I don't know how to do it. Because we need to increment the score upon the collision for the egg, and the collision for the egg happens in the ostrich class. No, it doesn't. It happens in the play state here. We check the vulture against... No, we check us against all the vulture eggs and see if we collide. So look, we have a note here called add increment points. But we also need to check. So it's almost like we need to have an egg counter in our, not in our vulture class, but in our play state class. It's like we need an egg counter. Okay? Self.egg counter. This counts how many eggs in the wave were popped so that we can determine what the point system is for incrementing upon collecting an egg. So we're going to say if self dot egg counter is equal to 0, that means it's the first egg. That means we need to take our player one's dot score. Now that we moved it into that class, we need to assign it its current score plus, since the egg counter would be 0, this is the first egg, so it'd be 250 on the first wave. I think wave 2 is different, so we might need to think of how to do that differently, but we're just going to try this. Then we're going to say else if self.egg counter is 1, then that means, oh, you know what? It starts off as 250 for the, 250 for the first points. If it's 1, then we need to get 500 points. But the tricky thing is here, we need to print out these scores that we're printing too. So we need to like store them. Yeah, we need to store them somehow, I feel like. And then we can say else if our egg counter is 2 or bigger. Is so bigger than 1, meaning 2 eggs have been popped, then they're all 750. No, because they go up to 1,000. So just for this first wave, I'm just going to say if it's equal to 2, then this would be the third egg, which means we would get 750. Current score plus 750. And that's only upon a collision for our egg to be instantiated. No, because we do, the egg's already instantiated, but if we collide with the egg and the egg's past its invulnerable state, then as long as we're walking fast, that's technically what this means. As long as we're walking fast, then if we're close enough to the egg, then we'll actually get it and move our egg to the graveyard and increment our score. So yeah, what's happening in this, I'm not upon items being killed, I'm not actually removing them. Because if I were to remove them, their place in the table where I'm storing all their data gets shifted by the index. You know, as long as I removed a higher index number, then, you know, as long as it's not the last item. So, I don't know of a way to do this differently, because it's like, since I'm saying that I'm not deleting these items upon them dying, I'm just doing the appropriate logic, which is like, give us the right score for that egg collision, but don't delete that egg, actually just move it right outside the screen and take away its updated information, meaning its x velocity and y velocity. Place it in the graveyard just outside of the screen. Which could give us problems, but it's something to test, I guess. And then I think we need to do it upon this too. Actually, since we're doing it, since this is actually poor design, since we're basically saying if we're going, wait, no, this is saying if we're going faster than 0.3, we're going smaller than 0.3. So if we're going smaller than, okay, then if we're going faster than, so I guess what's the difference here? Oh, it's not checking this. Okay, well, I think we still need something like this. So the confusing thing about this part is that we're checking, oh, come on. We're checking another condition right here when we're walking, because I noticed that the original, you can actually walk and have the egg be close to your feet and still not touch it. So if you're flying, you're supposed to collide with it right away. So I have this checking the dx, and if we're going smaller than 0.3, that means we're standing and walking. That means the hitbox shouldn't be AABB collision. It's closer to like you have to be right on the egg to pick it up when you're walking, smaller than a 0.3 on your dx, which is like tier 1 to 2 range back when we used to define it like that. But it's just like a walking pace, really. So I'm going to say we modify our player score whether or not we remove an egg upon, you know, it's like instead of doing this here, we can, you know, we know we need the increment. So right when we collide, when our player collides with an egg that is vulnerable, we go ahead and say, you know, what's the egg counter, and modify our player score according to whatever our egg counter is, that we were only doing it once. Then check how fast we're going and set our hitbox appropriately. I want to see if killing someone gives us all 3 from the same spawn point. Okay, so we've killed 2, so we've got 1,000. So now if I get the egg, I should get 250 for the first egg and 500 for the second. So we're looking for 250. Nope. Did you see how it just gave us a shit ton of points? And that one was worth 1. I'm really not sure. Really not sure why that first egg gave us getting bigger and bigger number. like that. Wow. Okay, that was very mistake. Makes me think I need to rethink how I was doing the DX fix. See, that one looked like it was fine. Yeah, you know what? It has to do with, it's detecting a collision. Yeah, it's adding those points for every collision right here. Even though we do true axis collision if we're moving faster than 3. It's just one of those things where it's adding it over and over and over because we don't delete our egg right away, I guess. I don't know. This is kind of lame to end the episode like this. I'm just tired. I don't know where we need to put this better. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I don't know. Let me try to put it here. I don't know what difference this would make, if it would make one. But I'm trying. This is me trying. Just wanted you to know. This is me trying. 250 for the first egg. Cool. So this should be 500. Gets us to 1250. Or 750. That was 350, wasn't it? That's way off. Fuck. Yeah. We're not incrementing our egg counter. So we need to say our egg counter, our self.egg counter, because that's in our play state, yeah. Yep, our self.egg counter gets, oops. Where, oh god. Here. We need to say our self.egg counter gets incremented. We need to make sure we don't wipe our score upon so egg counter gets egg counter plus 1, and that's for every egg that we get. For egg counter is 1, we're increasing it. If it's 2, we're increasing it. So we're looking for a 250 egg firstly, then a 500 egg, and then a 750 egg. So I'm just gonna play the patient game and kill this guy out. So we should be at 15 hundo for 3 bounders. And then first egg should be 250. So we should get 1750. Okay. Now we should be getting $500 points. So we should get to 250. Okay, nice. Now we need 750 points, so that should get us to an even 3K. Okay, cool. So we're getting that working. We've got the bounder still hard coded to a bounder's worth points, but we don't have the tiers just yet for our vultures. And what's going to require in that? We need new sprites, and then we need new logic, new AI for it, because I think think hunters will actually turn around and kind of home in on you and fly towards you, whereas founders don't have any logic to turn them around. And I also think their top speed is closer to yours. And then I think Shadow Lords not only also new sprites, but I think Shadow Lords go even faster. They target you and their DX is actually higher than yours. And their flapping is more erratic, I feel like. But at least we've got points kind of working. I don't like that we have to do it in 2 spots like this. It just wasn't working. We were just doing general collision. Because also, these can't be hard-coded. We also need to check when our ostrich gets dead. When we get reinstantiated, we get reinstantiated with the self-score, but we should get reinstantiated with a self-score. How do we say that? We just format bed argument 2 to 594. I think that was it. Yeah. So I'm trying to see how we can not wipe this score, because when we get recreated, this score gets back to 0 now that we're in the ostrich class, which is probably why we had it in this play state. But we need it in the ostrich class so that we can, because that's where we do all our collision detection, that's where we need to detect it. So it's almost like this self-score needs to be a global variable called score. You know, it needs to be a global variable so we don't wipe it. And we don't instantiate it. We just increment it. Because I think we need to say, I think if we, where do we increment this score? Right here. We do it twice. But instead of doing the score that's at our player, we need to change it with a just a global variable called score, which we should probably put in our main game loop, I would guess. So like in our load function, can we say we just have a variable called score and we initialize it to 0, and then score is a constant, or all caps is like constant notation, so maybe I'll just put score. As simple as that. Assign it an integer, and then in our play state, when we're checking through our collision, through our player versus our ostrich, instead of incrementing our score, our player 1 score, we're saying that variable score, which should be global, gets itself plus the modifier, and then same thing. I'm wondering if we can do this. Didn't like it. Number expected got nil on ostrich 594. Which is self.score, which instead of self.score, what if we just say score? Okay. So now the test is 5, well, ostrich 2e3. See, we're still modifying self.score. We did it so much. See, this is the problem of repeating yourself. So we need to say score gets score plus the vulture point tier here. Yeah. Score gets current score plus the vulture point tier. Vulture's exploded. And we need it right here too. This way you don't repeat yourself because it's hard to freaking go in there and find it. Gosh, there's still more. And then if this score doesn't work out, I'm gonna have to go back in there and replace it, unreplace it. Back to self.score. Give me a break. This should work though, just a global variable. I'm pretty sure all variables are global in Lua, so it should work. Okay. So the PlayStation 171. Okay. We're doing. Okay. We have to do this because when we are initializing our player object again at a new X and Y on a different life, we were actually wiping our score, which isn't what we want, but we needed a way to access our score, so we put it in the main as a global. And then now instead of doing a score field that is only relevant to that instantiation of the ostrich, we just have a score variable. We keep getting up there. So now the question is, we should be able to die and keep our score now, which we couldn't do earlier. We still need hatching, we still need temporary safety, we still need tiers of enemies. I'm gonna spawn 2 vultures and then die and see if we keep our score, and we do. So that's good. Cool. Now we keep our score. I'm gonna commit real quick to make sure we get the before midnight commit. Git add saying added scores for dismount, bounders, and egg collection. We do need to change this a little bit ultimately, because we need to factor in the tier system of the vulture we're getting, and then we need to factor in the wave that we're on, because starting wave 2, eggs are worth minimally 500 points. But then we also need to add eggs are worth the extra 500 points, or whatever it is, if you catch it in the air, which it's just gonna be a whole nother shebang. But we've got points working. We've got them resetting. Or we've got the points not resetting upon our death. But we got them incrementing correctly, at least for wave 1, so it's a fairly good success. Yeah, today marks the end of our 30-day programming challenge. Me and Ryan, I think I missed 2 days, but that's okay. Thanks for watching.